Time now 8:13. An elite task force from New York City is already in place on the Florida-Georgia border to assist in the rescue and recovery of those impacted by Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, one team departed just as another returned from North Carolina, assisting in Hurricane Helene recovery efforts. So joining us this morning is the man who oversees these deployments, Commissioner Zach Iscol from the New York City Office of Emergency Management. So good morning, Commissioner. Thanks for taking the time.
Wonderful to be with you guys.
Can you talk about the team that's actually headed down there? How many boots on the ground do you have out there in Florida?
So we have a lot of boots on the ground. So we have a team that just came home yesterday. They were relieved by another team that went down. That was called a Type 3 team, part of our urban search and rescue team. We then supplemented it with additional folks. So we have about 85, 86 folks that are staged in Georgia, awaiting orders to go down, most likely to the Orlando area later this morning. And then we have the team that just returned from North Carolina that was doing incredible work over the last 2 weeks.
The folks that you do have there in Florida right now, what are they telling you that they're seeing so far?
So I haven't spoken to them this morning.
Okay.
But what we're hearing is that they are staging at the border right now and awaiting their order to actually move down into likely the Orlando area, where they'll be doing search and rescue operations, recovery operations, doing damage assessments. And these are just some of our finest. You know, they're men and women from the FDNY, the NYPD, from emergency management, and they live for this stuff, and we are very, very lucky to have them.
So when these teams arrive, who are they reporting to? What's their top priority?
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a number of different national sort of response structures that they can work through. So for example, right now in North Carolina, we have an incident management team from the FDNY that is working directly with North Carolina. In the case of the team that is moving into Florida, they are working through FEMA. So there's different compacts where we can have a state that requests direct assistance. There's also where we work through FEMA. And in this case, going into Florida, FEMA has asked for these resources to go down there. They will go down there. Occasionally, they'll get sourced out to work with local authorities, local jurisdictions. In some cases, you know, in North Carolina, they were working very closely with the National Guard at times. Yeah. So it really varies, but in this case, they are working with FEMA.
Now, you talk about manpower, but are they going down there with equipment as well?
Oh, yeah. So we have, it's amazing. I would welcome you guys to come to our warehouse anytime where we have this equipment, but we are pre-staged at all times, ready to go in 12 to 24 hours with swift water rescue equipment, technical search equipment, everything we need. It's palletized, it's loaded on box trucks. We can load it onto C-17, C-130s. We can drive down to these areas, and we do weekly sort of maintenance of that equipment to make sure it's ready to go.
You mentioned several city agencies going down to assist. How valuable will their help be over the next days, perhaps weeks to come?
It's invaluable. And again, this is part of a national response model. So many of us remember in the days after 9/11, we had folks coming to New York City from around the country to help New York, you know, working on the pile down at 9/11 at Ground Zero. This is what we're doing. So there are urban search and rescue teams from around the country that are part of different states, municipalities. FEMA pays for it, and then we administer it. We do the training, we do the recruiting, and those teams then get deployed to these situations. And our teams, they've deployed everywhere. They've been to Haiti, they've done a lot of hurricane work, we've been in Puerto Rico, all over the country, Vermont last year, you name it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a little bit of the coverage this morning of the damage that's been left behind. What's the time frame, and how do you determine how long your crews actually stay down there?
Yeah, so it really depends on what the need is and the amount of damage. And, you know, these teams generally, you want them there as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Under Deanne Criswell's leadership, who's the FEMA administrator, they've done and she was my predecessor at New York City Emergency Management. I don't know if you remember, but she used to be here in the city.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of great work to pre-stage some of these teams, right, to make sure that they are ready to go right when the storm comes through. And so that means that they're ready to respond immediately. In the past, sometimes what's happened is you've had teams that have gone down there a couple days later. Yeah. And in that stage, mostly what you're doing is a lot of recovery operations, you know, helping with damage assessments. But it really depends on the severity of these storms. And I think that's another thing. The recovery from these takes a long time. I mean, we are still in the city. There's still a lot of work we're doing to recover from Hurricane Sandy, believe it or not.
I imagine, too, you go down to help, but you also learn a lot, too, to help a lot here as well.
Yeah. Well, and one of the great things about this team is, you know, we famously, back in the 80s and 90s, you had the battle of the badges between the FDNY and the NYPD. And when you have units like this that really get these folks to work together, you see that investment pay out here in the city, right? Where you have men and women who have really learned to work together in challenging environments, who are training together. and it pays huge dividends when we're responding to emergencies here in New York City, not just in terms of the capabilities, but also in terms of the teamwork that develops from these different agencies working together.
Well, simply the best coming from New York, heading down there.
We are very, very lucky to have him, and thanks for having me on to talk about him.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Appreciate your time.